Dear viewers, dear listeners, we are very glad that you are with us again and greet you very warmly to the 14th program of the Inner Path to the Cosmic Consciousness on the Level of Order. On the inner path, the path of the Christ of God, we hear again and again, God in us. But how do we attain the communication with Him, the Free Spirit, God in us? We can become aware that God is the true life. He is in our breathing. He is the power without which we could not live. He is the light in us, in the innermost part of our soul. He is the infinite love that penetrates all things and is eternally effective in His creation, as in us as well. If we want to develop the communication with God in us, we have to cleanse our inner temple so that we find our way to the inner stillness. This inner stillness, the steadfast alignment with God in us, is the goal of the tasks and exercises that we receive, particularly on the level of order. The teaching material for the Inner Path to the Cosmic Consciousness was taught to us from the Kingdom of God through the Divine Wisdom. Brother Emmanuel, our spiritual teacher, the cherub of Divine Wisdom, revealed the teaching material through Gabriella, the prophetess and emissary of God in our time. Gabriella herself gave us further explanations and helpful indications from her opened consciousness. Today, we continue in the chapter with the title, Self-Recognition by Way of the Training of the Senses of Hearing, Smell, and Taste. Bettina, Christo, and myself, my name is Jeanette, will read to you from the teaching materials as pupils among pupils.
In the previous programs, we have heard again and again that the human being is not cut off from the external world or from his surroundings, but that we, like an emitter and a receiver, are in constant communication, and that with the energies to which we align our antenna, for example, via our senses. These constantly transmit to us many, many impressions, and thus lead us to without again and again. This is why it is so important that we train our senses and refine them, and for this we have received different exercises and tasks. We will now continue to read in the teaching material what our spiritual teacher, Brother Emmanuel, explained about this. And so the one who trains his senses in the right way, who refines them and ennobles his thoughts, will find inner freedom and reach true greatness. So what is it that takes place in the soul when a person refines his senses? First of all, the soul and the soul garments brighten, because the eternal power transforms many things, which the person then no longer has to bear, having refined his nature, his sensations, and thoughts. Secondly, the spiritual atoms gradually turn toward the incorruptible core of being of the soul, toward the central light, the primordial power. Increased energies then flow from there into soul and body. These increased energies, coming from the core of being, have a positive effect on soul and body. The increased life force brings about health, happiness, and contentment. Due to this increased energy streaming from the core of being, God, the spiritual consciousness of the soul, expands. Soul and person become more still and more receptive for the eternal power. Brother Emmanuel again explained this to us. On the level of order, by refining his senses and by monitoring his thoughts, the pupil strives to work his way from without to within. Once the pupil has refined his senses, put order in his thoughts, and curbed his speech, he will from then on live more and more from within to without. This means that the pupil has mastered his past for the most part and lives in the present. He will then shape the future with God.
After these deep explanations, we continue with a further task in the reading material that Brother Emmanuel, the cherub of divine wisdom, gave us for training the senses of smell and taste. He revealed, the pupils on the path to the inner life also practice training their senses of smell and taste. Everywhere they go and are, people who want to refine their senses will not consciously register smells and fragrances that reach their organ of smell. To register consciously means to think and speak about the smells at length. In the schooling, Gabriele indicated the following. Therefore, we should not stick our nose into everything, not even in a fragrant pot of meat. In the teaching material, Brother Emmanuel admonished us with the following words. Thoughts and words are powers. They have their effect in and around the person who, for instance, thinks about the smells and talks about them at length, and holds his nose over the source of smell. When, for instance, a person talks about unpleasant and bad smells, he intensifies this vibration in himself, because smells and fragrances, too, are vibrations. In so doing, he attracts the complex of smell, which then influences him. These vibrations then have their effect on the organism. They affect the senses of smell and taste more intensely and stimulate further cravings of the senses. The person is driven by his senses. His desires are what move him. They crave this and that. They stimulate the person to purchase this and that or to eat a certain food. Gabriele said the following. How often did we not experience on ourselves that the smell alone stimulated us either to eat some sweets or to have a similar chain of thoughts, or to purchase this or that luxury food item, like coffee, alcohol, or cigarettes. So we are driven by our senses, which are turned without. Brother Emmanuel revealed, this state of being driven leads to disharmonies and tensions in the nervous system. From this come about a play of thoughts and words, which in turn draw the person into lower spheres of vibration, because soul and body are losing energy. On the other hand, natural fragrances, like the fragrance of flowers, bushes, and trees, also stimulate a person. They vivify the soul and bring about in soul and body the harmonies that flow from the pure forms of life to the person who is aligned accordingly. The one who ennobles his senses attains the nobility of his soul and finds the way to his spiritual consciousness, to the sonship and daughtership of God. In all that is pure, noble, and beautiful lies the power of love, which is activated by selflessness and radiates throughout soul and person, shining over the organism. As soon as the organ of smell perceives smells and fragrances, they are at the same time registered by the sense of taste. The organs of smell and taste transmit their perceptions to the brain cells, which immediately register these vibrations and influence all the other sense organs.
We continue to read in the teaching material what Gabriella explained to us about these exercises. Dear brother, dear sister, we now also train our senses of smell and taste. We do these exercises in the same way as the previous ones, alternating to inner and to outer days. We find out again what shortcomings still remain in us. On the first 2 days, we endeavor not to take the smells and fragrances into our inner being. We pay no attention to them. We do not stick our nose into everything that smells, not even into soup kettles or roasting pans. We will not think about smells and fragrances, nor talk about them. We have heard that with our thinking and speaking, we only intensify what comes flying at us. On the 2 inner days, we endeavor to consciously take in the fragrance of flowers, bushes, and trees. We will not dismiss gentle and mild perfumes, but we want to consciously take in the sense of nature. We again record our impressions, sensations, and thoughts on the right side of our mystical journal. We will also record what our palate signals to us on these 2 inner days. Thus, our journal tells us who we still are. During these 2 inner days, we will take in our food in a disciplined and concentrated way. Through a disciplined and concentrated intake of food, our sense of taste is refined. Every bite that goes to our organ of taste should be chewed consciously and harmoniously. We should take time for our meal. Every meal should be a holy act which expresses our thankfulness to God for the food He gives to His human children. To eat in a disciplined and concentrated way also means that we fill our mouth with food only when it is empty, when the well-chewed food has gone on to the organ of digestion, the stomach. We will also fill our fork or spoon again with a medium-sized bite, only when we have chewed our food well and swallowed it. Through the harmony while eating, we also ennoble our senses. The ennoblement of our 5 human senses then also has a positive effect on our soul. In this way, we help to ennoble our spirit body, and gradually the nobility of our true being breaks through.
Gabriella gave us even more indications. Another effect of eating harmoniously is that we gradually come into a higher vibration, and base thoughts and compulsive desires do not fly at us or move us from within so often. We know that many things can dry up in us without our having to live or even suffer through them. Correct, last one hasn't been swallowed. Our stomach urges us on, and the chewing process is accelerated. The insufficiently chewed food that goes to the stomach may then, in the long run, not only lead to complications like stomach troubles, but can also trigger various disharmonies, because the stomach and other organs have to work more intensively and thus use up too much physical energy. The person who eats in an uncontrolled and hasty manner will also cause his smell and taste organs to turn more and more to without, and to crave more food and drinks, as well as all kinds of culinary delights. The same is true for taking in liquids. The contents of a glass should not be emptied all at once, even less so when it is ice cold. People who are on the path of ennoblement drink in sips. Time and again we may recognize, as soon as we refine our senses, the soul and our entire body structure are also refined. At the same time, our soul garments become lighter, and we attain a continuous alignment with the incorruptible power, God, the core of being of the soul. And so, on the 2 inner days, we will become aware of what we are and will aspire to the inner nobility by refining the senses.
With this exercise for the refinement of the senses of smell and taste, after the inner days, there follow 2 outer days. In the teaching material, Gabriele explains about this. So that we bring our consciousness and the subconscious and our soul garments into movement in our inner being, we will insert 2 outer days again. This means that the 2 inner days are again followed by 2 outer days. On the 2 outer days, we will let the senses of smell and taste have free rein again. What we paid attention to on the 2 inner days is irrelevant on the 2 outer days. The old habits reappear. While we are still chewing on one bite, we, as usual, automatically fill our spoon and fork for the next one. Another old habit is to drink with a full mouth. This too is permitted on the outer days, but it should not be forced, and so we do not castigate ourselves. We do not force ourselves to do something we are not used to. Thus, for 2 days, we will live again just like we used to live before we had this spiritual knowledge and spiritual insight. All that we were able to register on the 2 outer days in the way of essential thoughts and feelings, we again record in our mystical journal, this time on the left side. Dear brother, dear sister, Gabriele continues, it is up to you whether you do these exercises or not. You are not forced to do anything on the inner path. You can do these exercises every 2 weeks, once a month, or not at all. Or you can start them once you have recognized that they will contribute to the refinement of your soul and body. Once you have realized that through this exercise and by way of actualization, your conscience becomes freer and tells you more and more what you are still lacking in and on you.
Dear viewers, dear listeners, often we are not aware of what direct effects our thoughts, our negative sensations, but also our habits, we could say, the disorder in us, have on us. Gabriele explains the following about this to us. The more shadows there are in soul and body, the less spiritual power flows to both bodies, the soul body and the physical body. The result is fatigue, listlessness, and lack of peace. This causes the senses to turn more and more to without, into the world of the stimulation of the senses. There, in the external world, the restless person then seeks strength and life energy. Then, large quantities of food, stimulants, and drugs are often the way out. We start turning to alcohol and nicotine, and crave more and more culinary delights. These are signs of spiritual impoverishment. In this way, the person becomes more and more lethargic and negligent. If such a person is given a task he is unwilling to do, he immediately falls into resignation because he was torn away from his lethargy. Every feeling of resignation in turn leads to negative sensations and thoughts. These may then create in turn further causes and lead to a relapse into human stirrings and inclinations of the past. All of us, each one of us, therefore, hold in our own hands how we want to shape our life, and each one has the freedom to decide himself. In his revelation, Brother Emmanuel reminded us of the law of freedom. It would be of little use and would contribute little toward your edification if I, your teacher, were just simply to say, you must do this, and you should let go of that. Every person has the free will, also on the inner path. Gabriele explains to this the following. It is necessary for all of us to hear this again. We have to experience for ourselves what it means to live inwardly or to stay on the outer level, bustling about in the world and miss the goal, or to purify and ennoble ourselves. Through self-recognition, that is, by experiencing it on our own body, we will be ready to affirm and walk the spiritual path more and more, so that we may become free from our base nature. To be free means to have ever fewer worldly demands on oneself and ever fewer desires and claims on one's neighbor. As long as we have an attitude of expectation, as long as we expect something of our neighbor, that he does this or that, we remain tied to his opinions and conceptions. The person who still makes substantial worldly claims for himself, or constantly circles his thoughts around his own interests by wanting to possess this or acquire that, urging him on and clouding his mind, that person's heart is not yet free for the inner path.
Dear viewers, dear listeners, in today's program we have again received a lot of help for taking the steps toward the true inner freedom in us, so that we free ourselves, as we heard, from our claims, expectations, and lastly, from our burdens, from our shadows, and aligning more and more with the incorruptible power, God, the core of being of the soul, so that the light, the flame of the Christ of God in us, can shine more and more. There, in us, we can find secureness, hope, and confidence, and step by step reach the certainty that God is in us and near to us at every moment. We will be very glad to have you join us in our next program to learn with us on the path to the love for God and neighbor. Next time, we will be talking about planning and about the meaning of the words of Jesus of Nazareth, who said, "What you do to the least of my brothers, you do to me." Until next time, goodbye and greetings in God. that each one of us lies in the stars. For the heavenly bodies know each of us through and through. How can we understand this? Every person has his own personal past, and yet there are so many things we can no longer remember. We simply say the past is forgotten. But is it? No energy is ever lost. So where then are the energies of our feeling, thinking, and acting? Jesus of Nazareth said, "Verily, the very hairs of your head are all numbered." Today, this is no longer inconceivable. Navigation devices bring us to any place of destination. Satellites record every corner of the Earth. In relation to the recording capacity and precision of the cosmic bookkeeping, all of this is only the most imperfect and primitive technology. The Path of Forgetting, The Microcosm and the Macrocosm by Gabriela, is an engrossing read that gives insight into the cosmic correlations that are significant for every moment of our life on Earth. Gabriela, the prophetess and emissary of God in our time, explains, among other things, about the pathways and sojourns of the soul in the beyond, the preparation for a renewed incarnation, or the path of evolution on the way back to our eternal homeland, to the seven-dimensional kingdom of God.
Empfinden wir uns als Wesen aus Gott,
Let us feel ourselves
mit einem
as beings from God.
Strahlenkörper. Der Strahlenkörper
With a mighty, radiant, incandescent body.
ist mitten
The incandescent body, our true being, we ourselves,
durchdringt
is in the midst of our physical body.
Arme,
It
Beine,
permeates our arms,
durchdringt den
legs,
gesamten Körper,
feet. It permeates
das Haupt.
the whole body. It permeates the head.
Physischen Leib und strahlt nach außen.
It is in the midst of the physical body and radiates to without. It permeates all the organs, every nerve, every blood vessel. It consists of countless particles.
Dieser Strahlenleib,
similar to our physical body that consists of cells.
befinden uns mitten in unserem
This incandescent body, we ourselves,
Wir empfinden in diesen
we feel
Strahlenkörper in
into the
uns
midst of our
wahres
physical
Selbst
body.
hinein.
We feel into our incandescent body, into our true self. Who are we?
Jeder von uns geht nun auf sich selbst
Each
ein,
one
auf
of
sein
us
wahres
focuses
Sein
on
selbst.
himself, on his true being. Who am I?
Ich bin
I am
ein universelles Wesen.
a universal being.
Was hat das universelle Wesen in und an sich?
What does the universal being have in and of itself? peace?
Was strahlt mir aus dem Wort Friede zu?
What radiates toward me from the word peace?
Liebe.
Love.
Selbstlose Liebe. Was
Selfless love.
die selbstlose
What
Liebe?
does the selfless love contain?
Was strahlen
What
mir diese
radiates
Worte
towards
zu?
me from these words?
All.
The all,
Ewiges,
eternal all.
Ewigkeit,
From eternity
Ewigkeit,
to eternity,
unvergänglich.
everlasting.
Mir kommen die Sonnen
The suns
und
and
Planeten
planets
immer näher.
draw ever closer to me.
Ich durchdringe das
I
Blau des
penetrate the
Firmaments.
blue of the firmament.
Es tun sich
Infinite
unendliche
vistas
Weiten auf,
open up,
denn ich sehe
for I see
die Welten
the worlds
im Glanz
in the radiance
in
of the
mir
primordial light in myself.
Das Firmament
The firmament
wird immer lichter.
grows ever more light-filled.
Weiß Gold umhüllt
White gold envelops me.
mich, durchdringt mich,
It permeates me.
erfüllt mich.
It fills me.
Ich schaue tief,
I look more deeply.
nichts ist mir fremd.
Nothing is foreign to me.
Alles, was mich ist,
Everything that is around me is so near to me. It is in me.
ich schaue nicht mehr in die
I no
Ferne,
longer look into the distance,
denn ich schaue die
for I behold infinity in me.
Ich schwebe nicht
I do
im
not
All.
hover in the all.
Ich wandle
I
und
walk
bewege
and
mich
move about
auf lichten
on
Straßen.
light-filled pathways.
Es sind die
They
Strahlungen
are the
der
rays
Planeten.
of the planets.
Es ist, als wäre fester Boden
It
unter
is
mir.
as if there were firm ground under me,
Ist
and
alles
yet everything is very subtle,
durchstrahlt,
irradiated,
rein.
pure.
Ich spüre mich
I feel myself weightless,
und doch
and yet
ein Wesen,
a being,
nicht allein.
not alone.
Es begegnen mir
Many beings
viele Wesen.
encounter me.
Die geistigen Augen schauen.
The spiritual eyes behold.
Ich erkenne sie alle.
I recognize them all
Als Essenz
because
in
they
mir.
are in me as essence.
Mein herrlicher Bruder,
My glorious brother,
meine herrliche Schwester,
my glorious sister,
ich verneige
I
mich
bow down
vor dem Göttlichen
before
in
the
dir
divine in you,
und auch
and
vor dir
also
selbst,
before you yourself,
göttlich,
because you too are divine.
ewig.
We know ourselves to be eternal,
Denn wir kennen uns.
for we know each other eternally.
Uns allen ist nichts fremd.
Nothing is foreign to us all.
Wir sind das All im All.
We are the all in the all.
Ich wandle weiter.
I continue on.
Ich spüre,
I feel
kein oben,
there is no
kein unten,
above, no
kein
below,
vorne, kein
no in
hinten,
front,
kein
no
rechts
behind,
und kein links.
no to the right,
Alles ist
no to
in
the
mir,
left.
und was
Everything
ich
is in me, and what I see is irradiated
in mir selbst.
and vibrates in me, myself.
Kein Hauch von gegensätzlich.
Not a breath of unlawfulness. Everything is pure.
Symphonie.
Everything is symphony. I listen.
In mein Inneres ziehen
Spherical sounds of infinity draw into my inner being.
in mir
In me,
vernehme ich
I hear
fein
the finest tones of God's nature.
Natur. In mir vernehme ich
In me, I hear
feinsten
the
Töne
subtlest tones of the animal world.
Der Weg, auf dem ich wandle,
The pathway on which I walk,
die Strahlung der Planeten
the rays of the planets,
singen das Lied des Alls.
sing the song of the
Ich
all.
vernehme es in mir.
I hear it in me.
Ich betrete einen mächtigen Planeten.
I step onto a mighty planet.
Die Natur ist reinste Symphonie.
Nature is purest symphony.
Jedes Gräslein
Every little blade of grass
strahlt, so
is
wie ich
fully
gestrahlt
irradiated,
bin.
just as I too am irradiated.
Jedes Steinchen
Every little stone
aus feinstem
that
Alabaster,
consists of the finest alabaster,
aus den feinsten Kräften
of the finest forces of the all,
singt das Lied der Unendlichkeit
sings the song of infinity.
in mir.
I hear it in me.
Es ist die Symphonie
It is
des
the
ewigen
symphony
Gesetzes,
of the eternal law,
die Symphonie meines
the
wahren
symphony of my true being,
Symphonie der Liebe,
the symphony of love,
der selbstlosen Liebe.
the selfless love.
Aus wenigen Worten strahlt das All.
The all radiates from few words.
Überall bin ich zu Hause,
Everywhere
weil ich
I am at
in mir
home
Wohnung genommen habe.
because
Gott
I have taken up dwelling in me,
und Vater.
in God, my Lord and Father.
Ich wandle weiter.
I continue on.
Da und dort sind herrliche Bauwerke,
Here and there are
Wohnstätten,
glorious structures,
Urstoff, die sich
dwelling
harmonisch
places
in
of
die
primordial
Landschaft
substance
einfügen.
that fit harmoniously into the landscape.
Ähnlich wie Rabatten zieht das Leben
Similar to borders, the life draws
durch
through the dwelling planet,
den Wohnplaneten. Rabatt
borders of flowers
in
in the most
herrlichen
glorious
und
colors and forms.
Ich gehe
I
weiter
continue on and see glorious ponds.
Ich sehe mächtige Sprünge
I see mighty wellsprings in the radiance of the primordial sun.
alles. Zur inneren
Everything for inner edification and insight and love of the child that I am.
Die
The homeland,
die
the eternal homeland,
die Planeten so
the planets so laid out
der
as it corresponds to the mentality of the spirit beings
die
that dwell on the planes, the planets.
alles
Everything created from the power of God,
aus der Macht der
from the
Unendlichkeit,
might of infinity.
alles
Everything
Schönheit
is beauty,
und
radiance, and symmetry.
ganz zart
Very gently, I hear
des
the bubbling of water.
Es ist die Symphonie
It is the symphony
innerer Liebe.
of inner love.
Bewegung ist in allem,
Movement is in everything,
weil Leben Bewegung ist.
because life is movement.
Ich bin zu Hause.
I am at home.
Spüre,
I
wo
feel,
ich auch hingehe,
no matter where I go,
wohin ich auch schaue,
wherever I look,
ich bin zu Hause.
I am at home.
Alles, was mich umgibt,
Everything that
alles,
surrounds
was in
me,
mir schwingt,
everything that vibrates in me, is mine,
weil es sei.
because it is the being.
Alles, was mein ist, ist auch
Everything that is mine
dem Nächsten das Seine.
is also the neighbor's. It belongs to us.
Schöpferische,
Creative,
endlich schöpferische Kräfte
unendingly creative forces are in us.
spüren,
We feel
wenn die Ursonne
when the
weitere
primordial sun
Kräfte
pours
in
out
die
further forces into
Unendlichkeit
infinity,
dass diese
These
aktiv werden
become active
und wieder schöpferisch sind,
and are creative again
neue Welten
for new worlds
in den
in the
mächtigen
mighty
Himmel,
heavens,
den himmlischen.
the heavenly planes.
Ich bin.
I am.
Ich gehe weiter.
I continue on.
Ich betrete
I step
ein himmlisches Gebäude und
into a
weiß
heavenly
mich
building
dort zu
and
Hause.
know myself to be at home there.
Ich bin.
I
Da
am.
ich erkenne, was
Yes,
mir gegeben ist,
I recognize
urewig.
what is given to me primordially,
Auf
eternally.
mich kommen die Wesen der Liebe zu.
The beings of love come toward me.
Ich
Beings,
im Nächsten,
I myself in my neighbor,
sie in mir. Ich
they
in
in me, I in them.
vereint,
We are united,
ewig.
linked eternally.
Der Mensch regt sich. War ich fort?
The person stirs. Was I gone?
Ich war nie fort.
I was never
Ich war
gone.
immer.
I was always there in the eternal being. The there disappears. Unity, unity and love, whether as a pure being or as a human being.
In Gott bin ich.
I am in God. I remain in God.
Ewigen Himmel bin ich.
I am in the eternal heavens, also as a human
In
being.
der ewigen Familie bin und bleibe ich.
I am and remain in the eternal family, also as a human being.
In der ewigen Dualverbindung.
I remain in the eternal dual relationship, also as a human being.
Meine Geistkinder.
Also as a human being, my spirit children who are also the children of the Father, Mother, God,
Bleiben in mir.
remain in me,
Denn auch durch mich
because
wurden sie
they were
geistig
spiritually procreated
auch
also
als
through me.
Wer bin ich?
Who am I?
Ich bin das strahlende Wesen
I
im
am
irdischen Leib.
the radiant being in the earthly
Das
body.
kosmische Wesen
I
in der
am the
Unendlichkeit.
cosmic being in infinity.
Ich bin ewiglich.
I am eternally.
Ich bin nicht nur reich.
I am not only rich, I possess everything,
Weil alles in
because
mir ist,
everything is in me,
als Mensch.
also as a human being.
Im Inneren besitze ich die
In my
ganze
inner being, I
Unendlichkeit
possess
und so auch
all
die
of
Essenz
infinity,
dieser Erde
and thus also the essence of this
als
earth,
Mensch.
also as a human being.
Tief in unserem Inneren vernehmen wir,
Deep in our inner being we hear,
lass du als Mensch
as a human
der
being,
Erde in dir
let
nachklingen.
the essence of the earth reverberate in you,
Und das Schwingen
and the
der
vibration
Erde
of the
spricht.
essence of the earth speaks.
Enge dich nicht ein, o kosmisches
Do not
Kind.
confine yourself, O cosmic child.
Du stehst mitten im physischen Leib
You are in the midst of the physical body.
als Werkzeug
Take this as a tool,
mit vielen.
so that with many
Die
others
Erde Licht
you let
werden zu
the
lassen.
earth become more light-filled.
Die Essenz der Erde spricht. Ich
The
komme
essence
zu
of
dir.
the earth speaks. I come
Du
to
bist
you.
Mensch.
You are a human being.
Kommuniziere mit mir.
Communicate
Enge
with
dich
me.
nicht ein.
Do not confine
Du
yourself,
hast das
for you
Werkzeug
have
Mensch
accepted the
angenommen,
tool, the human being,
zu erfüllen.
in order to fulfill
Du bist
what you
und was
are
in mir
and what is in me,
all.
the
Das
all,
all.
the all,
Und die Erde spricht
and the earth
in dir,
speaks
in
in you,
in jedem.
in me, in each one.
Hole mich zurück.
Take me
Hole
back.
auch die zurück,
Take
die
also those
auf
back
mir wohnen.
that dwell on me,
Denn all
for all are the essence of the All. The great heart of the All is beating in me. It is the heart of the Father, Mother God. I am. I am in the midst of my physical body. I, the essence of the All. In order to cleanse the earth, to cultivate the earth, to lead the people back with the power of the All. Of the Father, Mother God. Father, we are not separate from you. We are in you. You are in us. And so, as human beings, we retain the knowledge and the awareness. We are beings of the All. We stand in the midst of our physical body. That is our tool for the great totality, because everything should again become as it is in heaven. Purity, beauty, selfless love, the incandescent law of the All. Thank you, Father, that we are in the earthly garment for you. Thank you, Father, that we may be active for you. Thank you, Father, that you give us the forces of the All in order to bring about in our physical bodies that which we have taken on as a task.
Have you ever asked yourself what Jesus of Nazareth really taught? Who can tell us the truth better than Jesus, the Christ, himself? Read, "This is my word, Alpha and Omega, the Gospel of Jesus, the Christ revelation which true Christians the world over have come to know. Through the prophetess and emissary of God, Gabriele, Christ, the co-regent of the kingdom of God, reveals in our time the facts about his life and works as Jesus of Nazareth. Learn the truth directly from Christ himself, free of theological opinions and interpretations. In this mighty work of revelation, Christ addresses the past, the present, and the future by way of the prophetic word through Gabriele. He, the Christ of God, teaches about the meaning and purpose of life on earth, about the falsification of his teachings during the past 2,000 years, about death, reincarnation, and life, the law of sowing and reaping, which also holds true in how we treat creation, about the true meaning of his deed of redemption, and much more. His eternal word is the teaching of the love for God and neighbor toward people, nature, and animals. It is the teaching of freedom, of peace, and of unity. He spoke and speaks to all people about the one God of love, God in us. Read the encompassing work, This Is My Word, Alpha and Omega. Order your book online at gabriele-publishing-house.com or write to Gabriele Publishing House, Max Braun Street 2 in 97828 Altfeld in Germany, or under the telephone number 0049 9391 504 843